Bryce Van Paris from Ashley Violins. We're going to talk about tuning your string instrument today. But the first thing I would mention is it's very tricky to tune with the pegs and very easy to break a string. So I really recommend seeing your teacher if possible or going to a local shop. At Ashley Violins, we will tune for free if you just bring it in as long as we're open. And that way you can avoid misalignment of the bridge or broken strings. Generally speaking, you want to do most of your tuning with fine tuners. Those are the small screws at the bottom of the tailpiece. If you tighten the screw to the right, it will raise the pitch. If you loosen it to the left, it will lower the pitch. But sometimes it goes so far out of tune that you need to use the pegs. Before you begin trying to tune with the pegs, you need to consider the alignment of the bridge. The bridge is only held on by the pressure of the strings. It needs to be straight up and down with the body of the violin. If it's leaning forward, it can fall over and break. A bridge is very expensive to fit because it takes a lot of time to make by hand, so you really want to avoid this. In addition to being aligned up and down, the bridge should be centered with the fingerboard by looking over the top of the scroll down the fingerboard and making sure that it's centered. If the bridge is significantly out of alignment, you want to stop there and go and see your teacher or a local shop, because breaking a bridge is expensive and very easy to do if it's not aligned correctly. Another consideration is how well your pegs actually fit. It's actually not uncommon for pegs to fit very poorly and be very sticky or slip a lot. So if that's the case, you may have to visit a shop or your teacher for assistance. The peg is actually just tapered and the hole is tapered to match, but changes in weather outside can actually affect the size of the hole and the size of the peg. So if it gets cold or warm outside, the pegs will swell and get more sticky or shrink and slip a lot. Before you start tuning, you need to know what note you're actually tuning toward, because if you over tighten the peg, you'll break the string very quickly. I have a few methods here. One is a digital tuner and the other is an app on my phone. Both have a needle that will tell us if we're high or low. I actually like this app here because it doesn't just tell me the note, but the little 4 next to it tells me that it's the 4th octave on the piano. And so I know which A I'm actually tuning to, because it's very easy to try to tune to an A that's too high, at which point you're stretching the string and breaking it. In the comment section, I'm going to actually put a chart that says which octave each note is on each instrument for violin, viola, cello, and double bass. All of those instruments share the same A. Not the same octave, but the same note A. And so I will start with the A on this violin, which is the 2nd string. You always want, if you're needing to tune from below the pitch and bring it up to the note, rather than from higher and bring it back down. It's not just easier to hear it that way, but it's less likely to break the string. If I loosen this peg, it will often slip, sometimes dramatically. And so as I tune the peg, I need to be slowly pushing it inward, fairly firmly. And so you'll notice that I have a pretty good grip on the violin because I'm pushing in firmly. So I have the violin supported against my body and a good hold on the neck. And then I can also pluck with my thumb while I do this. And then I'll be watching the tuner as I do it. So as I do this, we're going to watch the tuner. Right now I'm at D4, which is below the A4. And so as I'm pushing in and very gently, you see I'm barely moving the peg at all. The notes are climbing up the scale. E, F, F sharp, G, now I'm all the way to A flat, now I'm to A, and you'll see I'm almost there. When I'm talking, it's messing with this, but... And the green light and the needle in the middle is what you're looking for. Now I'm doing the E, which is actually the most finicky with the peg. Littlest movement of the peg. I mean, you can almost not even feel it move, and it'll raise that a whole step. So I'm at E flat, and I want E, and it's actually E5. I've gotten very close. I'm going to finish with the fine tuner. As I turn the screw to the right, it raises it. We're going for D now, the third string from the top. Again, now I've switched hands and I'm pushing hard with my left and holding with my right. There it is, D4. And the G. It's really important to push in firmly or else it'll just slip right back out. And also important to move very, very little each time. And now we're close and we'll do our fine tuning with the fine tuners. So I've finished getting this in tune, but the act of tuning with the pegs pulls the strings this way because I'm tightening them, and that can pull your bridge with it. It can grab the top of the bridge and pull it toward the fingerboard. If that's allowed to stay there, it'll warp or it can fall over and break. This is the tricky part. I don't really recommend moving the bridge if it's significantly out of alignment, but if it's not straight up and down, it's leaning just a little bit, I'll show you how to adjust the bridge. So, I like to be sitting down so I can support the violin. Personally, I put the violin between my legs. I hold my hands on the body to stabilize it. Put my thumbs on the bottom side of the bridge. And my fingers over the top. Again, the bottom is the part facing the tailpiece. The top is the part facing the fingerboard. And then I just very gently pull it toward myself. This is really delicate and I don't recommend it if you're uncomfortable at all. And if you need to move it side to side, I support it with my hands, put my fingers and thumbs on the bridge and just move it back and forth. Sometimes it will resist because it's stuck to the varnish or there's a lot of rosin and it won't move. Again, if it's way out of alignment, it's best recommended that you see your teacher or a local shop. So I'm going to skip right to the cello because the viola is very similar to the violin. The tuning is slightly different and that's in the comments section, the tuning for each of the instruments. So the cello has also pegs and they're a bit stiffer and harder to move than the violin. So the way that we do this is I like to turn the cello toward me so I can put a good grip on the scroll and then with my other hand push the peg in. And again, we're going for that A, which in the cello is the first string. If we're uncertain, we bring it down. Then we make small in and upward or to the right to tighten movements. Almost imperceptible as far as the movement of the peg itself. Just really small, jerky motions pushing in and to the right. And listening to it, or watching your tuner. And some pegs will just fight you or slip a whole lot, so if that's the case, you may have to see your teacher or your local shop. Plucking with my right thumb as I hold the neck and turning and pushing inward with my left hand very firmly. And then at the end, same thing. Look at the bridge. Is it still straight up and down? Is it correctly centered on the fingerboard? And then you're fine tuning at the bottom at the end. And then there's the bass. Bass has a secret. It does not have friction fit pegs like the other instruments. It has tuning gears that are similar to a guitar, and they hold much better and they don't slip, or they shouldn't slip. So just turn and release. Very easy actually. bass is the third string. And actually that's pretty much all there is to it. I mean, you can tune with a bow and watch the tuner. It does keep the pitch a little bit more steady than plucking it or pizzicato. And that's just a quick tutorial on how to tune a stringed instrument, hopefully without breaking a string or a bridge in the process, or knowing when to stop and seek out your local shop. If you have any questions or comments, go ahead and leave them down below or contact Hammond Ashley at hammondashley.com.